I'm Evelyn Harper, 28, a marine biologist who thought my Seattle life flowed steady as the tides until my 24-year-old brother Ethan Cole called one stormy night. His voice cut cold and careless. He sold our grandfather Arthur Grayson's $9 million Napa Valley vineyard for a mere $3 million, funneling it to his 25-year-old girlfriend Sophia Reed's failing wine gamble. No warning, pure gall. But I'll uncover what he missed. Beneath the vineyard's oldest vines lies a chest with a deed to geothermal springs worth $20 million. Arthur, who left us 5 years ago at 72, foresaw this treachery and set a test for Ethan's worth. Soon I'll face him there, sifting through secrets and soil. Will greed tear us apart forever? Or can Arthur's legacy mend us? Join me in these vines to find out. Rain drums against my Seattle apartment window, a steady thrum that mirrors the restless hum of my lab, where saltwater samples and tide charts weave a calm I've learned to lean on. My days unfold in that quiet space, each discovery a thread in a life I've stitched together with purpose, far from the chaos my younger brother Ethan Cole, 24, chases with every fleeting bet. We've grown distant since our grandfather Arthur Grayson slipped away 5 years ago at 72, his absence a shadow over us. He left us a $9 million vineyard in Napa Valley, its golden rose a living echo of summers spent wandering his fields, his deep voice naming every vine. That land was our anchor, a legacy pressed into the soil, where we scratched our initials into an oak, me watching over Ethan at 8, a decade and more behind us. I thought he held it sacred too, until tonight broke that illusion. My phone hums on the counter, Ethan's name glowing, and a knot of unease tightens in my gut, tinged with a flicker of hope for the brother I once knew. I answer, expecting his old warmth, but his voice drifts through, cool and careless. He tells me he sold the vineyard, our vineyard, for $3 million, no nod to me, no whisper of warning. My breath snags, the room fading as his words settle like stones. I press him, voice sharp, and he laughs, a blade of sound that slices deep. He says he gave it all to Sophia Reed, his girlfriend, 25, to fund her latest vineyard pitch, a dream wilting on the vine. She's all sharp smiles and shaky plans, and my fingers curl tight. Ethan taunts me, claiming my steady world doesn't need that land, doesn't feel its pull. He's blind to how his greed tears at Arthur's gift. The phone trembles as I demand how he could do this, but his laugh softens to a shrug I hear through the static, and he's gone, leaving rain and a fire in my chest. That vineyard was Arthur's stories, his hands steadying us, now traded for Sophia's gamble, and Ethan thinks I'll let it lie. He's wrong. My mind races, mapping a fight, and I reach for my laptop, booking a flight to Napa Valley by dawn. I'll take back what's ours, and he'll see he's misjudged me, misjudged Arthur's heart, in ways that will unravel him. My mornings in Seattle unfold with the faint gurgle of coffee brewing, a sound that steadies my pulse before I cross into the lab's cool embrace. There, under pale fluorescent glow, I sift through jars of glistening sea life, their fragile forms whispering secrets I unravel with careful hands. This is my sanctuary, a realm where precision shapes my days, forged through years of chasing truths beneath the waves. My brother, Ethan Cole, 24, dances to a wilder tune, his life a scatter of bold bets and fleeting triumphs. I see him in memory, lounging with a grin, spinning tales of quick riches that always frayed at the edges. Our grandfather Arthur Grayson, lost to us 5 years back at 72, once wove us together. His Napa Valley vineyard, a sun-warmed refuge where we trailed him through rows of emerald vines. That $9 million sprawl was our shared thread, a legacy I thought Ethan prized as I did, until he proved me wrong. His world now twists with Sophia Reed, 25, her keen gaze fixed on her floundering Reed Valley label, a venture as brittle as unripe fruit. Last night's call haunts me as I linger at my desk, the phone's echo still prickling my skin. Ethan's voice had glided through, slick and unburdened, confessing he sold our vineyard for $3 million. A paltry sum sunk into Sophia's wilting dream. I pressed him, my tone taut, and he flung back a laugh, bright and jagged. He mocked my lab's gleam, my earned comforts, asking why I'd cling to land I'd never prune. His words pierced, a thorn twisting in my side, as if my crafted life erased the vineyard's worth. I demanded why he'd sever our past, and he sneered, insisting Sophia's gamble trumped my claim, her need louder than our history. My grip tightened, nails biting my palm, as I pictured her poised confidence masking a crumbling edge, Ethan her willing shadow. He missed the vineyard's breath in the dusk, its roots tying us to Arthur, and that ignorance lit a spark in me. When I pushed for more, his voice turned cold, slicing the call with a jab at my sheltered ease, leaving me with silence and a rising tide within. That land was Arthur's gift, his silhouette against the vines as we laughed through childhood, a bond Ethan bartered away. I refuse to let it vanish. My chair creaks as I rise, will coiling tight, and I draw my laptop near. Fingers skim the keys, locking in a flight to Napa Valley by dawn, a vow to wrest back what he's tossed aside. Ethan believes this ends with his scorn, but he'll find I'm not the sister he imagines, and Arthur's legacy won't bend to his whims. The plane lands in Napa Valley, and I step into a breeze laced with the tang of ripened fruit, a heat that seeps into my skin like a half-remembered song. My boots press into yielding soil as I thread through the vineyard's knotted rows, their leaves whispering against my sleeves, stirring ghosts of summers long faded. Arthur Grayson's land unfurls around me, a $9 million sweep of sloping earth and twisted vines, its quiet splendor a pang against Ethan's betrayal. I reach the old house, its sagging porch creaking under years of sun, and spot Sophia Reed, 25, leaning against a rail. Her stare cuts through me, sharp and measured, a faint crease betraying her calm as she sips from a glass of straw-pale wine. Ethan Cole, 24, lounges nearby, his posture slack, eyes dancing with a challenge that meets my scowl head-on. I demand the truth, my words a slow simmer, and he brushes me off, voice lilting with mockery, claiming the sale's sealed, the money gone. Sophia's fingers tighten on her glass, her silence louder than his taunts, and I sense a fracture beneath their united front. In town, I face a lawyer, his desk a maze of yellowed files, and he nods gravely as he confirms the sale's grip, my name scrawled in a hand I never wrote. But he hesitates, thumbing a page in Arthur's will, and points to a clause tied to a date 5 years past, the day he left us at 72, a riddle he can't unravel. My heart leaps, a lifeline shimmering in his words, and I return to the vineyard, drawn to the wine cellar's shadowed hush. The air cools my flushed face as I glide past barrels, their wood scarred by time, until a warped board snags my touch. I ease it loose, dust curling in the faint glow, and uncover a note, Arthur's script bold across the creased paper. It warns of greed he saw coming, promises a safeguard woven into this land, a secret to defy betrayal. My pulse stutters, rage softening to a fragile wonder, as if his voice hums through the ink, guiding me still. Ethan's careless grin and Sophia's guarded poise flicker in my mind, blind to this gift, this proof of Arthur's trust. I tuck the note close, its corners crisp against my fingers, and determination flares where doubt once coiled. The cellar's quiet wraps around me, a vow taking shape, because Arthur foresaw this break and left me a way to mend it, a path I'll chase through soil and shadow to claim what's ours. I kneel in the wine cellar's dim hush, Arthur's note unfurled before me, its ink a beacon under the lantern's wavering light. His words weave a puzzle, pointing to a chest beneath the vineyard's ancient oak, a weathered giant where Ethan and I once etched our initials, its bark a canvas for Arthur's tales under twilight skies. My breath quickens as I unravel his intent, a secret he tucked away from prying fingers, and the cellar's musty stillness nudges me into motion. After a day tracing his clues through Napa Valley's restless acres, I emerge beneath a canopy of stars, their gleam a stark tapestry over the land's shadowed folds. At the house, I find Ethan Cole, 24, and Sophia Reed, 25, sprawled on the porch, their murmurs threading through the clink of her fading vintage. I brandish the note, my voice a tempered blade, challenging them to see Arthur's foresight. Ethan's laugh spills out, brittle and biting, insisting I've chased a ghost, while Sophia sets her glass down, unsteady, a shadow of doubt creasing her poised facade. Their scorn ignites a heat in my veins, and I stride to the oak, its silhouette a jagged crown against the night. Soil parts beneath my shovel, each scoop a rebuttal to Ethan's betrayal, until the blade clangs against a rusted box, its hinges creaking as I wrench it open. A deed gleams within, pristine despite its burial, and my chest tightens as I read. Geothermal springs lie beneath, a $20 million pulse in the earth's deep veins. Arthur's wisdom washes over me, his safeguard a fortune Ethan bartered for $3 million, blind to the riches he squandered. My fingers clutch the paper, a surge of victory laced with fury, picturing his arrogance fraying at this edge. Footsteps snap twigs behind me, and I turn to face Ethan and Sophia, drawn by the noise, their outlines stark in the starlit gloom. I raise the deed, voice clear as flint, and proclaim their misstep. He sold our birthright for scraps, and she pinned her hopes to a hollow gamble. Ethan's smirk falters, a crack in his armor as his jaw clenches, while Sophia's eyes flicker to him, her silence a thread snapping under strain. They mutter denials, but their tones wobble, a faltering echo in the stillness, and I sense the ground tilting beneath them. The oak looms above, its whispers a chorus of Arthur's will, his cunning a shield I now grasp. Ethan grasped at shadows, but I've seized the land's true heart, a leverage that reshapes our fight. I fold the deed into my pocket, the vineyard thrumming with untold promise, and stand taller, knowing this truth is my anchor, a weapon to wield if I can keep it steady. Morning spills over Napa Valley, the sky a wash of saffron bleeding into the hills, and I stand beneath the vineyard's towering oak, its roots a firm pulse underfoot. The deed lies cool in my hand, a quiet claim as word of the $20 million springs creeps through the valley's sun-dappled lanes by noon, a murmur too potent to hush. Ethan Cole, 24, barrels toward me, his boots scarring the dew-laden earth, breath sharp in the chilled air. Sophia Reed, 25, strides behind, her pace a taut rhythm, her eyes glinting with a predator's focus beneath the dawn's veil. They stop short, Ethan's glare a live wire, and he snarls for the deed, his voice a rough gale splitting the quiet. I root myself, the parchment's edges firm against my skin, and let my words unfurl, deliberate and piercing, branding him a fool who traded our birthright for a $3 million husk. He recoils, then snaps, "I'm the usurper," his hands knotting with rage, while Sophia mutters, "You've lost it," her tone a brittle thread, snapping under strain. The oak's leaves shiver overhead, a whisper of Arthur Grayson's enduring reach, and I feel his purpose stir beneath me, a tide pulling me deeper. I spread the deed wide, its script bold in the climbing light, and a clause seizes my voice. Arthur named me heir unless Ethan proves his worth, a trial forged 5 years back when he faded at 72. My chest lifts, a rush of marvel edged with iron, and I declare it, each phrase a stone shattering Ethan's stance. His face buckles, shock yielding to a wild dread, and he lunges, his shout a frayed howl decrying deceit. Sophia pulls back, her hands dropping slack, and her gaze shifts, tallying the wreckage of her Reed Valley hopes against Ethan's sinking frame. She turns, muttering, "Enough," her coat brushing the grass as she retreats, her final look a splinter of frost that cuts their bond clean. Ethan falters, his pleas thinning to a broken gust, alone now beneath the oak's broad shelter, and I see him dwindle, a shadow swallowed by the legacy he spurned. The vineyard hums around us, its buried springs a song I hold, and Arthur's test rises sharp in my thoughts, a choice unbidden, to break him or bridge this gulf. My fingers close on the deed, the sun's fire gilding the branches above, and I hover at a precipice, the land's rhythm a call I must weigh. Ethan's form blurs in the swelling light, and I know this dawn redraws our paths, a weave Arthur spun that I must now mend or sever. I stand in a Napa Valley courtroom, its walls heavy with the scent of polished pine and thyme, the deed and Arthur's note firm in my grasp as I face the judge. Sunlight streams through tall panes, painting golden pools across the floor, and I unravel the tale, my voice a clear thread stitching through the room's expectant hush. The papers reveal geothermal springs worth $20 million, a treasure Ethan Cole, 24, traded for $3 million, and Arthur Grayson's will, crafted before he slipped away 5 years ago at 72, crowning me heir unless Ethan proves his worth. The judge, lean with a gaze like weathered steel, tilts his head, fingers brushing the text, and murmurs, "Clear intent," his voice a low ripple as he affirms the deed's truth and Arthur's design, a measure of soul, not speed. My lungs expand, a gentle surge of justice rising within, and I catch Ethan in the periphery, his frame sagging, eyes hollowed by a shadow I last saw when we raced through the vines as children. He stands, his steps unsteady, and his plea cuts through, a frayed murmur seeking pardon, his look locking with mine, stirring echoes of a brother I once held dear. Days later, the verdict lingers as we step into the vineyard's embrace, its fields aglow under a sky laced with fleeting clouds, and I offer Ethan a path. We'll share the spring's bounty if he rebuilds this land as a community refuge, a nod to Arthur's dream. His chin dips, a quiet ascent born from ashes, and we climb to the attic of the old house, its air thick with dust and memory. The trunk's lid creaks open, revealing Arthur's sketches beneath a shroud of faded linen, our young selves etched in his careful lines, framed by the oak's embrace. My throat catches, tears welling as I trace the curves of us, two figures bound by summer's glow, and Ethan's fingers graze mine, his breath hitching with a mirrored ache. The drawings hum with Arthur's warmth, his faith in the U.S. we'd lost, and I see now the vineyard's pulse isn't its wealth, but this tie he fought to preserve, a legacy I've salvaged not in gold, but in kinship. Beyond the window, the land unfurls, a quilt of green stitched with hope, and I feel this end as Arthur's gift, a harmony spun from the strands of his care. Ethan's hand lingers near, and I know we've turned a corner, his worth not in what he took, but what he'll give back. Months have slipped by in Napa Valley, and I tread the vineyard's paths, now vibrant with purpose and the faint perfume of lavender woven into its edges. The land, once a mute backdrop to our rift, thrives as a community refuge, its $20 million springs powering a lattice of wells and plots where locals tend the soil, their voices a soft chorus against the rustle of leaves. Ethan Cole, 24, kneels nearby, coaxing water from a new well he's dug, his hands calloused from toil, his once wandering gaze fixed with intent. I see a man taking shape, shedding the boy who swapped our heritage for a fleeting $3 million prize. And the oak looms near, its trunk a ledger of our younger days, whispering Arthur Grayson's faith 5 years after he faded at 72. In Seattle, my lab pulses with its old song, but a calm has settled over me, a gift from knowing I've kept Arthur's vision alive by lifting Ethan from his own ashes. One evening, as twilight brushes my desk with silver, a letter slides from the mail, its envelope creased and bearing a Napa stamp. My fingers linger on the neat hand of Arthur's old friend, a companion of his vineyard years, and I unfold it, pulse stirring as he writes of watching us from the valley's fringe. He waited, he says, until the vines bore this new life, and saw me claim the legacy's core, not the springs, but the kinship I rebuilt. His words carry Arthur's pride, a quiet refrain from beyond, and my chest warms, a glow kindling as I ease the paper aside. From a drawer, I draw a photo, its corners softened by years, showing Ethan and me against the vineyard's verdant rise, Arthur a faint outline in the dawn's embrace. Tears well, born not of sorrow, but of a truth laid bare. Greed's echo has stilled, its lessons etched into this quiet triumph. Beyond my window, Seattle hums, but the vineyard lives in me, a testament to bonds that endure, and I know Arthur's wealth was never the earth's pulse, but the chance to heal what splintered, a light we now bear forward together. As I tuck the photo back into its drawer, Seattle's dusk pooling beyond the pane, I grasp the truth Arthur Grayson etched into our tale. Greed, like a vineyard's fleeting bounty, can splinter us, its shimmer a hollow call, but love, steadfast and deep, knits us whole, a strength that outshines gold's gleam. This land showed me legacy isn't wealth's measure, but the grace we offer to heal what falters, a gift Ethan and I nearly let slip. I wonder if you've stood at such a crossroad, where greed's voice drowned out care. How did you choose your path? Your stories, your reflections, mean much to me, so please weave them into letters or thoughts for me to find. This chapter closes, but I'll return with fresh tales, eager to share more with you. Until we meet again, may your days hold the glow of what lasts.